What's going on, guys? Um, for a guy like me who always used drugs and alcohol to cope and who always used drugs and alcohol to feel better, you know, it was about what drugs and alcohol did for me. You know, they they helped me to feel more comfortable around people. I didn't feel shy anymore. All my problems went away for that little bit of time, and I was able to have fun. And eventually, it started to be the only way that I could have fun, right? So, what I want to talk about for a second today is just that when I was first getting sober and I was trying to live life completely different than the way that I had been living it for the past 8 years or so, I needed to find ways to cope and I needed to find ways to have fun and ways to deal, ways to go through everyday life without using drugs or alcohol, right? That was clear to me. I had to figure out ways that I could cope because I was my own worst enemy for so long. And now all of a sudden I had to be like my own best friend, so to speak. You know what I mean? I had to figure out how to love myself again. I had to figure out how to take pride in things that I was doing. And so some of the things that I found that worked for me early on in recovery and still work for me today are, working out and letting some stress out that way, sitting down and reading something that I'm interested in, and I can, I don't have to read something like that I'm not, find something that I'm interested in and I can sit and read it so that I know I'll be, into it and stuff like that. Writing like in a journal or something like that. Doing things like this, I mean, is just some of the things that I found that are useful for me as far as, I played soccer in a adult league for a long time. Currently don't right now, but I did for a long time and using things like that to kind of be a new positive outlet because my only outlet for so long was drinking and drugging and stuff like that. And that's how I felt better. It's how I felt better. It's about what alcohol did for me, what drugs and alcohol did for me. They made me feel better. So not having that is like, for somebody like me, it's unnatural, So by being sober, I'm doing something unnatural from the gate but now, after a little bit of time and after, putting in some work and continuing to put in some work, I've started to find rather that some of these things, these coping mechanisms, these new things that I'm doing are starting to become more natural. And that's nothing but a blessing, man. And at that same time, what can start to happen, and this is again something that I wanted to talk about, is that I find these things to cope, find these things to substitute in a way. I'm substituting one addiction for another because when I find something that works, I do it and do it and do it and do it. I just run off with it. I mean, if it works for me, it makes me feel better, I do it. So now that I'm finding positive things that make me feel better, I'm finding positive things that help me to cope. I can't just be relying on those nonstop to a fault, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get this job and just work like Rihanna and think that it's going to be that. I have to keep recovery as my number one primary purpose. My number one, sobriety and recovery from drugs and alcohol is my number one thing. If I'm thinking that a job and that things and that money or whatever it's going to be is going to take me to another spiritual realm or like another better way of living, I'm dead wrong, man. I mean, it's not going to happen. So I need to always make sure that I'm taking time out to, whether it's a hobby or just whatever it is that I like to do that helps me to deal, man. And that's been huge for me in my sobriety. In early sobriety, I'm trying to figure out these things. I don't know how to have fun. I don't know how to cope. And I'm going to meetings. I'm doing whatever they tell me to do. I'm doing what I was told to do from people who already did it. People who already did it and who were living a way that I was like, damn, I was like, I don't even know how they do that. But I asked how they did it. You know what I mean? I looked and I asked and I watched and I put in the work and it's about persistence. It's about it's constant. This thing doesn't stop. Recovery doesn't stop. For somebody like me who, for so long was used to doing something one way, but my mind still, my mind can trick me. My addiction talks to me in my own voice. And if I'm not really, really careful, and if I'm not constantly doing things positive to help me stay in the right frame of mind, I'm done, man. You know what I mean? And so I just real quick wanted to talk about that, talk about positive ways to cope, whatever they might be. I mean, you could get these new hobbies, these, like playing sports and working out and reading, writing, whatever some of these things are, start to get back into family functions, start to do these things that we weren't doing for so long in active addiction, you know what I mean? And what happens is we find that those things start to become more and more natural. And then we have a support. Then we have a new way of thinking. When something stresses us out or something goes, now we're thinking, man, I got to work out, or I got to call my buddy real quick, man, or I got to go to a meeting, or I got to go. And that's a blessing, man. That's a blessing that somebody like me, somebody in sobriety, somebody that's an addict or an alcoholic, can do that in recovery, man. Can now do something that's totally against their grain, their old way of doing stuff, and really do something positive. So I just wanted to share that real quick. I gotta sit down and do a lot of homework. It's a Saturday. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this homework. But while I'm already thinking, I got to do my homework, but I also got to make sure that I take time out to make sure that I'm doing whatever I got to do to keep myself not stressed. Planning out when can I go to a meeting, planning on when can I work out, when can I just sit, pray, and have some time for me, because if I don't do that, then I'm not going to make it. You know what I'm saying? So everybody have a blessed day. I'll speak to you soon. All right, take care.